I have become, I think, a bit of a safety blanket for some. And I'm like, oh, once I've gotten involved, I realized, oh, this student could have just come to office hours. He didn't need me to have a session. He just used me as an accountability partner.
Welcome to the Academic Coaching Podcast, brought to you by the Anti Boring Learning Lab. I am your host, Gretchen Wegner, and this is the show where we dig into the craft of coaching students, the study skills, the executive function strategies, and the occasional business tip for those of you in private practice, which we're going to be doing a little bit today. Today's guest just wrapped up his anti-boring study skills coach certification, and he's about to dive into our Rock Your Biz materials. So I wanted to catch him right here at the threshold before the next stage of growth happens to take a snapshot of how he's doing right now. Then we'll come back in 6 months to see how much his EF coaching practice and systems have grown and shifted as a result of his work in our business program. So Patrick Quinlan is also an actor, an improviser, and the newish dad of a sweet little bundle who sometimes attends our learning lab call Smushed to Patrick's chest. So please meet Patrick. Welcome.
Hey, thank you, Gretchen.
You're welcome. First, I feel like we might need to say how old is the little he's not as little a bundle as he
He's not
was.
as little as when I first started the
Mhm.
anti-boring lab, but he's about to be 18 months. So he's
18 months already.
he's learning all sorts of things, mostly motor planning stuff, like climbing in
Yeah.
and out of on cars, toy cars, and on top of
Yeah.
tricycles and
Oh.
things like that. Yeah.
Does he have any words or like what's communication like for him right now?
He has a way of communicating. He definitely is understanding us when we say things, like he can say
Mhm.
yes or no and shake his head. And
Mhm.
he's had different words. Like we've gotten dad and mom at times, but it's not always specific. And then it's a lot of ba and a lot of like pointing at a ball. And I'm
Yeah.
like, just point, a lot of pointing. So he points out
Yes.
airplanes and garbage trucks, and
Oh.
he's paying a lot of attention to everything.
Mm.
And we've taught him some sign language, so he can sign for more and milk and
Oh,
up and
great.
things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
it's
18
really
months is actually
interesting.
brain
I was gonna
development
say it's
wise,
just,
right?
yeah, really
Yeah.
interesting watching it. We took him to a pool the other day. We're staying near friends, and they have a swimming pool, but it was like a splash pad inside of a swimming pool, like a wading pool. And he's been in regular swimming pools before, but this was one he could walk in, and it was just blowing his mind. For 50 minutes, he was just pulling us, walking through the water, like, you know, like it was a totally different experience for him. It was really wild to see.
If only we could continue to explore that way as we
Oh,
age, right? That's kind of the goal.
it's all
18 months.
repetition. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a special age for me because actually when I was 18 months old, my parents had to leave me for about 6 months with my grandmother.
Oh
And
gosh.
so it's all I know, can you imagine as a parent? I mean, that was the '70s. I don't think anyone would choose to do that these days
Mhm.
if they couldn't help it. But, I'm always like, it's always sort of poignant, a little sad and bittersweet, but also kind of intriguing. That's why I ask, because I try to imagine, like, what was going on for me when I was 18 months
Yeah.
old and they had to make that choice.
I mean, there's an aspect of, like he gets upset when my wife goes away. Like he very much
Mhm.
wants his mom. And but there's also an aspect of kind of, oh, this will distract me. And so
Yes.
like we're staying at not we're not in our home right now for the next few weeks, and we're going to be traveling a little bit. So I'm just like watching him, moving around our friend's house, and he's just like, yeah, this is fine, this is normal. But so there is like an
Yeah.
embrace of the new as well.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, you're gonna have stories coming back. Okay, well, we are
Yeah.
here to get to know you. We're going to get into the business side in just a moment, but at first, I've been really enjoying getting to know who people were as students when they were in school. So,
Oh,
we're gonna
sure.
play a little game. where I'm going to give you three
Okay.
cards. I feel like we have a little bit of a delay happening here, so we're just gonna roll with it though, because I don't know what to do otherwise about it, and we'll edit out
Yeah.
anything that needs to be edited out if it's weird. But I'm going to give you three choices, and you are going to choose card one, two, or three, and then I'm going to ask you the question from that card. Okay. So, we're going to do 3 rounds of
Okay.
this, and round one is all about you as a learner. So, what do you want? One, two, or three?
I'll do one.
Oh, okay. Well, question one is, what do you admire about your teenage self?
What do I admire? Wow, that's a good question. I was
Mhm.
very ambitious and industrious as a teenager. I
Um,
was very goal oriented and not deterred. If things didn't go my way, I made a new plan and adjusted. And I had
uh-huh.
a variety of long-term and short-term goals that and a lot of energy to tackle it. So I guess I admire that.
That seems like you're no different today from what I've seen on the outside. Do you feel
I have
like
a
you've
little less
retained that
energy.
less energy? Still stick to itiveness. That's why you're
Yeah,
here in
yeah,
the Learning Labs Rock Your Biz program.
that's right. Yeah. Yeah, I still stick
Well,
with it.
and what kind of a student were you?
I was a grade grubber. I was a good student.
Mm,
I I was very motivated by earning good grades and getting validation and from teachers and um but I also loved collaborating with my friends. Like in high school, we had study groups, and I remember helping my friends learn geometry or pre-calc. And I loved all the creative parts of school. So I was a big writer. I loved writing my intros and conclusions because that was where you could express yourself the most.
oh, interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. When did you discover acting? Was it then or was it later?
No, it was I the first time I performed was maybe in like third grade or younger. Like I did
Okay,
different
yeah.
different shows, and my brother reminded me recently that I did like a Park District performance of Hansel and Gretel one summer. And then in junior high, we did a musical every year in the spring,
Mhm.
and I did that each year. And in high school, I did sports, and then I was in like freshman year, I was in marching band, and I was on the soccer and basketball team. And
Whoa, you did it all.
yeah, I very busy, and I liked being busy, and I had to quit marching band to because I saw show choir as an option to get closer to the theater. So I did show choir the sophomore year, and then the my junior year I auditioned for the winter play, and then my senior year I quit sports entirely and did all theater. And right before college,
Mm,
yeah. So I
interesting.
sort of committed to theater around 16, 17.
Okay, so in the midst of all that busyness,
Yeah.
if you were to go back and do a coaching session with your teenage self,
Hmm.
what do you think you would do with him?
Um, I mean, I think it would be more about managing the like stress, like the pressure a little
Uh-huh.
bit. I think I did a pretty good. My mom was a guidance counselor, a high school guidance counselor. So I had an inside track into
Yeah.
talking about my feelings and stress, and I was we had a good relationship that whole time. We still do. And so but there were moments where I think it was working late, staying up late, studying. And so I learned later in college how to, and a little bit in high school, but how to just take pressure off of everything and say, you know what,
Mhm.
this class can be a B. That's okay for me. Or I
Mm,
don't have to be, I don't have to be in the hardest class in every subject. I could pick the subjects I care about. So if I could have gotten to that sooner, that probably would something I would encourage, sort of
mhm.
fighting off the perfectionism
Yeah.
and peer pressure to, I don't know, to succeed.
Mhm.
But I got there pretty naturally too.
Yeah. Sounds like you got there. It just would have been nice. It's always nice to get there sooner.
Yeah, I mean, my parents, I think, were coaching me a bit, like they
Yeah.
were very involved. And brother and I have a younger brother and sister, and we're different learners, and we had all had different relationships with school. And so, my parents were, yeah, I would do my homework in the kitchen or the dining room, and everyone in front of everybody. It was visible. My work was visible,
Wow,
and
interesting. Yeah,
um,
interesting.
my dad would proofread. He was a editor for a newspaper, and he would proofread my papers, and then I'd have to sit with him and go through all the revisions and things like that. So I always approached school with this collaborative. So when I came to tutoring and coaching students on my own, it just was second nature. Like this is just a good way
That's
to
so
learn.
yeah, and, first of all, I had just never thought of I don't know why, I'm, like, judging myself for not having thought of the point that you just made. When we're doing our work in public, then people see it. Then there's just a little bit more accountability for it, and that's just a fascinating nugget to see that I mean, there are other good reasons why I recommend students do their work in public, but that is one specific one I hadn't thought of. Hmm.
Yeah, I think about it a lot now because everything's so digital, so it just is private automatically, when growing up in being in school in the 90s, there was a home computer and we all shared it. So if you had something to do, it had to line up with everyone else's schedule too, and you had to share.
There's a theme here. Sarah Ward, who I just interviewed prior to you right now, was we've been talking about how much more analog and hands-on learning was back in for her and I don't even know how old she is actually, but let's just say for all of us, 80s and 90s, 70s, 80s and
Yeah,
90s.
pre
And
pre-aughts.
yes, pre-aughts, exactly. And how there's a lot that's great about education today that's improved, but almost like I wonder if it's time for us to teach vintage study skills to
Yeah.
students. Sentence diagramming, note cards and research, outlining.
I think there's
Anyway,
definitely
there might be
students that
more
would
things.
be into it because they're the ones using Polaroid cameras or being self-imposed Luddites and like hanging out
Yeah,
in nature and getting dumb phones and things like that. So
yeah,
it
so
and
interesting.
it's a good skill because you're not reliant on anything. I've had students who have power outages or you forget your computer and it's like you're toast. And
True. Though
and
you've
it's
gotta
harder to
find
help.
your note card.
Yeah, yeah. Like just schools not having textbooks to me in like
Mhm.
that change over the last decade is fascinating because you're just like, but how can anyone else help the student look look
Right,
up material or reread a
right.
section or things like that?
Right. Yes, though that aspect is so different now. But okay, you mentioned something earlier that
Yeah,
is important for us to jump on, which is why you came to this tutoring and coaching naturally. So I want to switch us from talking about you as a learner to
sure.
you as a coach.
Hmm.
And how did you make that transition? We're going to come back to the cards in a moment. I do have some questions, but first I want to hear how did you make the transition into your executive function coaching company?
Yeah. Well, in college, I did a dual degree. I did a theater degree and an English degree with a secondary ed minor. And so my last semester of college was spent being a student teacher at a high school. And I would work all day at the high school teaching English classes, an acting class, and a stagecraft class. And then I would go back to college, which was only like a 15-minute drive, and direct a play. and hang out with my friends and grade papers and things like that. And I quickly decided I wasn't ready to be a teacher as a profession, but I I moved to Los Angeles to pursue acting from Chicago. And when I landed, I discovered through Craigslist that there were many different tutoring agencies, and I had these credentials, um, and I just applied, and I got a few jobs, and I would get students, and I worked for Princeton Review, and I worked for some boutique agencies, and I just did a variety of sort of a version of teaching, and then kind of found naturally landed with one specific agency and working with any students they threw my way, and I built up a caseload pretty quick there. So I was working with junior high and high school students who were struggling a little bit, whether it was managing their organization and time, and also having a little resistance or I don't know what's the word. Like they didn't love school and they didn't love learning, but they were very bright.
When did you make the shift from calling yourself a tutor to calling yourself an executive function coach?
Um, that happened kind of naturally after probably 5 or 6 years of working. And
Mhm.
that at this one agency, we were called academic coaches, and or academic, no, excuse me, we're called academic managers. And yeah, so we were helping manage things.
Mm.
And I had the coaching word made sense in my head. And then in that process, the clinician whose agency it was, he was an ed therapist and or trained as a clinic educational psychologist, and we worked with ed therapists, and then we would but basically I would be on my own to kind of do whatever felt natural, and then if I needed support I would get it. And I when I parted ways with him was around the time, I think it was probably like around 2010, 2012, where executive functioning was a word I knew, and I knew a little bit about it, and then parents were bringing it to me as well, and then parents were referring me as like he helps my students with their executive functioning skills.
Mhm. It's so interesting how the industry changes. We were just talking in the learning lab had a call this morning. You weren't at. I understand you're
Yeah.
traveling.
Hmm.
It's okay. But we were talking a lot about what do we call ourselves? Academic coaches, executive function coaches, something else. What's the overlap between them? And so much of, I mean, we can choose things because of our training, or in your case it sounds like you chose it because parents were naturally using that language to describe what you were doing, and so it just made sense to use the language that parents had started calling you.
Yeah, I think they didn't have a, very clear definition of what it meant either. So it was a fuzzier term than it is now. And
Mhm.
certainly there's so many aspects and sides to it. So I think a lot of it came down to making plans, teaching students how to make plans and stay organized and create systems. Um, and I became an alternative for, I think, families who didn't have the time, or their students weren't responding to ed therapy, where they would go once a week to someone's office and kind of do some work, but also have extra work to do or to think about, and like a new system that they had to try that they didn't necessarily buy into. And so I became this trying to MacGyver a solution for each student.
Interesting. So that's something I didn't realize, but we have that in common
Mm.
where I was seeing a pattern. Now, both Patrick and I are in California, the state of California in the US. And over here, we have ed therapists. On the East Coast, they don't have ed
Oh,
therapists.
really?
This is a very uniquely either California or West Coast.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. I don't really understand why. And if somebody's listening to this and I have something wrong, please correct me. Please head over to the Anti-Boring Learning Labs YouTube channel and comment under this video if you're hearing the audio. Um, but I had noticed that too, that a lot of students were coming to me because parents were frustrated with not seeing anything happen skills wise for school in ed therapy sessions. Not that there's necessarily anything wrong with ed therapy. I think it's there to do real remediation around math or reading or interventions that are needed. And I'm hearing you say that kids felt like it was this whole new layer of homework and so resented it and
Yeah,
then
I
came to
think I think so. I mean, it was, I think because it's like a clinician relationship, it's just
Mhm.
different than like, here's this guy coming to our, I was going to see students in person at the time too, and he
Coming
comes
to
to the
their house.
house and
Interesting.
he's he's it's a little more relaxed. He makes jokes and like we'll do a little work. He'll teach you, we'll try to come up with a solution, but the work will get done in the process a little bit more than teaching them like this is how you should outline an essay specifically.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, in a moment when we talk about the biz stuff, I want to talk a little bit more about that going to homes versus not going to homes because that's a big transition. But I also really want to insert a little bit of the randomness into this interview. So
Yeah,
for this is
please.
round two talking about you as a coach. Would you like card one, two, or three for
Let's
your
go
next
three.
question? Great. Okay, so that is okay. Can you point to a specific turning point when you realized your old approach wasn't cutting it anymore? And so this is like transitioning us into you choosing to come into the anti-boring learning lab. So was there like a moment when you were like, I might need something more?
Um, yeah, well, I was thinking about, well, now I have to think about this. I believe I did a Zoom call, like one of your like finals without freakouts call. So it would have been
Mhm.
probably about a year ago now.
Mhm.
And then that percolated through the summer and semester. And my son was born in January, and I continued to go to people's homes um, while in the first 4 months that we were being parents, and I
Oh,
was so tired, and
yeah.
and we were not sleeping, and
Yeah.
um, and I was like, I have to do something different, and I have to go virtual, and I
Uh-huh.
need language to explain how my services can be the same virtually. And I'd already kind of done a little, I was doing hybrid at that point. So I had a lot of I had students in different parts of Los Angeles. And so I had to go virtual for some based on their schedules and locations and go in person with others. And I was like, I have to just do it across the board. And because I don't want to have, I don't want something to go wrong in my schedule and I have to stay at a coffee shop instead of getting back in my car. And I want it when I could be home. And, um, and then that kind of combined with like, well, if that's the case, I need to make sure what I'm doing in person can work over over the internet, which I already had feelings it did, but I was looking for a language, I think, to teach my students in the framework. So that was
Yeah.
the anti-boring approach from the finals without freakout. And I think there was another Rock Your Biz webinar that I watched.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, there's a framework here that I can explain to students and parents
Mhm.
that's already kind of in line with what I feel like I do.
That's so interesting. I wasn't expecting you to say that the transition from going to homes to being fully virtual to match your family life needs and specifically looking for the language. Was it the language to justify to families that we're not, it might feel like a loss, like if I'm not coming to your home anymore and we're not
Yeah.
right there, but what's the language to help say this is why and how Zoom coaching is really a useful thing for you?
Yeah, I think the language for that and I have students who have worked for me for like their entire high school career. And I have become, I think, a bit of a safety blanket for some. And
Ah,
I and I'm like, oh, once I've gotten involved, I realized, oh, this student could have just come to office hours. He didn't need me to have a session. He just used me as an accountability partner to get his work done on a Sunday. And we just kept the schedule going but like, at in first semester of 12th grade, he didn't really need me, but he also was just like, no, it'll be good. Like it was holding him accountable.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
It's expensive. It's an expensive accountability partner for them and expensive for you in your life, having to deal with Los Angeles traffic and time away from your family. And so I can see why it was like, oh, wait, there's a different way we could structure this that would be
Yeah.
better for everyone, maybe.
The aspect of my business that has been difficult is because I have these very loyal clients. I don't have a way to graduate them, and they've invested, so they don't want to change. They don't want many things to change,
Mhm.
and and I thought, oh, the anti-boring approach, that could sort of show them like, look, you've graduated, you don't need me as frequently, or you have these are all the tools that you can see and have
Right.
in front of
Look,
you.
you've gotten all these tools. Here, we made it
Yeah.
visible for you.
And I can now be here more sporadically, but I have become a bit of like oh, I'm nervous about this, and like students will say like they'll schedule me and they'll be nervous to about something, and then they'll get in the session and realize, oh, this isn't that bad. And I'm just like, if you just looked at that this afternoon,
Right. You
a
could have
lot of
known it
energy
before.
and time, yeah.
Hmm.
So there was,
Interesting.
yeah, yeah. So it was language
Hmm.
and also
Hmm.
a way of demonstrating, yeah, growth, I think.
Hmm. Well, just in the interview that I just had with Sarah Ward, she was talking about how sometimes students can offload their emotional regulation to tutors and
Oh
coaches.
yeah.
And so there we go. Here's a perfect example of that and how. And this is why I love having the business tools alongside our study skills and executive function tools because we can. Oh, shoot. I was going to make such a good point. And then I lost the words working memory issues. Wait, say what you just said. What were we saying?
They can offload their emotional regulation onto us, the coaches, and so like having that with the
Yes.
business.
Yes. And so the structures that we choose to
Mhm.
support our business actually are also structures that support our students. If
Yeah.
we're mindful, not just doing it to try and make money, but if we're mindful about how do we structure this in the best possible way to help students incrementally become more and more self sufficient and self regulated, but not too fast. And not like if we just dump a bunch of things on them and leave, that's not useful.
Right.
But also, the year after year after year, I feel better when I'm with Patrick. So I pay Patrick to be in my life. That's not useful for their own growth either. And packages specifically versus hourly is one way I think that makes a difference for students. And were you doing hourly before?
Yeah, I mean, packages will be
Still.
the next step for me this fall. Yeah.
So that brings us into talking about your goals for your business and Rock Your Biz. So why don't you say a little bit about what is your understanding so far about packages and why is that so important to you now to switch to?
Um, I think the packages give it again, it's like language for the family. It's a beginning, middle, and end. I've always like I've all of my business has come word of mouth for the most part, and families or students passing on my name to other similar families or students. And it's almost shocking that people are just like have a conversation with me and then they're just like, okay, great. Like my student will now be in charge of scheduling with you for at their whim,
Yeah.
and indefinitely. And I have a little guilt about it. And I talk to the student about, what are our goals and where are we going, and maybe we should try this or that. And then I've had to put up my own boundaries for my own life of just being like, you can't schedule me this quickly or cancel this quickly and reschedule. And but it's case by case. So for me, the bundles is like, this is the universal principle, and you don't have to
Mhm.
align with it. That's
Mhm.
okay.
Mhm.
But if you do it, I think there's a clear beginning, middle, and end, and
Mhm.
or at least a point where we all can pause and reflect.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and so shockingly, that's not built into the school system. I haven't found a way to get clients to be like, "Hey, we just survived this sort of triage.
Right.
Let's take a pause and let's reconnect." And it's just sort of like
Mhm.
off the radar. We'll get back to you in the fall,
Mhm.
and then we'll do this whole cycle again.
Mhm. So what you've brilliantly painted is something that I've noticed all along, which is when it's by the hour, the focus is on what do I get from you. When it's by the, I would say package and not bundle. You used the word bundle earlier, and
I'm sorry. Hmm.
that's okay. But it's a good teaching point. We'll talk in a moment why not bundle. But just to finish this point, when we are focusing on the package, then they're focused on what do I do within this time frame alongside you to get myself to this specific goal. It's a very different conversation than the hour after hour after
It's
hour
more
conversation.
concrete, I think,
Mhm.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And because of the elements of the package, their portion of responsibility is kind of in there, listed out, like come to office
Right.
hours, or
Yes.
manage your tracker in between our, like, here's all the things that I will expect along the way.
Yes. Yes. And some of the conversation then is like in the habit tracker that we teach you to do in the anti-boring toolkit. It is, am I following my commitments to Patrick? And it's not that the kid has to follow their
No.
commitments, but where our attention is, oh, it's been 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. And then, so at
Yeah.
what point do we either change our commitments or decide that coaching is not working
Right.
because you're not following them? And so it's like a built-in conversation, which can be scary for some coaches because, like, am I going to lose? Am I going to lose clients because I'm holding them too accountable?
Right.
And you
Maybe.
might.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But more often than not, you won't lose them. They will just get better at doing the things that they need to get better at. And if you do lose them, then there you will have created such a steady stream of clients because you will have created such a great referral system for yourself so that there's another person who needs you to fit in while this other student is doing whatever they do, getting ready to be motivated to work with you. Why do you think I didn't like the word bundle?
Bundle implies you're getting several different things together, and maybe, I don't know. That was a
Yeah, I
guess.
mean, you're sort of. For me, the word bundle, often people will say, "Oh, I'm doing packages. So my hourly fee is 150, but if you buy 10 at once, that it translates to an hourly of like 125 or whatever."
Mhm.
And for me, that you're still doing it by the hour. You're just selling 10 hours at a time. So you
Right.
still have the focus on
Hourly.
what am I getting? Yeah, hourly. What
Yeah.
am I getting from you, the coach? Versus a package is intentionally designed so that they can't do the math and figure out how much they're paying you per hour
Right.
because there's so much they're getting. They might be getting this online course. Like as a certified coach, if you want, you can
Mhm.
give the anti-boring student course to your clients. They're getting that. They're getting office hours, which is 1 hour of your time, but you may be serving 3 to 6 students during that time. There, anyway, we have a whole list in Rock Your Biz of all the things in the packages, but that way they're focused on, yeah, am I making good use of all that is,
Resources. Yeah.
yes, exactly. And often packages are named with whatever the ultimate result is that we're looking for. So they're focused on
Right.
what result am I trying to get? It doesn't have to be grades. It shouldn't be grades, in fact.
Hmm.
But what am I working towards as a student?
Hmm.
So what are you excited to build towards? Like right now, it's just you, but well,
Yes.
no,
Well,
but you
no.
had been trying. Give everybody that story.
When I made the transition to being fully virtual and I had a few clients that wanted to have someone come in person. And I said, "Oh, I had been interviewing." When I was not sleeping in the first months, my parents even came in town so I could do, or so they could see their grandchild. But then I did interviews with people over over Zoom, and I was
Hire them in your business, interviews to hire.
yeah, to hire them
Yeah.
to have subject tutors or anyone, like I was looking for people who already had experience, and I was trying to replicate a system. And I found some good people, and I paired them up with students, and most of it went well. There were a couple fires to put out and a couple disappoint disappointing instances, but overall, you're like, oh, okay, great. This I could keep doing this as a way of building my company. Um, and then the state of California informed me that I can't structure my business that way.
That's right.
So I had to convert people to become employees instead of independent contractors, which I could still probably do and may continue to do in some instances, but it ultimately became like a realization like that's a lot of work to be just kind of an overseer. And what I got out of I really enjoy the coaching part, and I really enjoyed going through the anti-boring learning lab and working with students to or using it and envisioning using it with other students. So I so now I'm kind of transitioning back to one, and maybe down the and I think that will allow me to create the foundation and the sort of the systems for how this is how everything will work with the services part. And that would allow me, if I want down the road, to bring on a person to coach virtually alongside me, or as I hopefully expand, um, or do group classes or something like that. I'd have a system to show them instead of just what I thought I could do, which was you have independent contractors, you can't train them anyways, so you got to just find someone who's really good and just like kind of hope it works out. And it did, but um, it's not. I think it might as well just have an employee or build my business so I can do it on my own, and it's enough.
And there we have an increasing number of people in the lab who have a few coaches who work, I hate saying underneath them, but what else does one say? Who work inside their business. Maybe you say
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And who use the lab to train their new folks. But it is interesting to figure out all the different ways to work with whatever the tax laws are to make sure that we're being compliant, but also respectful of the people we're working with.
Yeah. And I think I was like trying to jump, as you say in the Rock Your Biz, like trying to jump levels a little bit too quickly.
Yes.
And I was definitely putting the cart before the horse, which is a something I should probably do more often. Just go for it and take action and figure it out as we go. But at the same time, it's like, well, you will have to then deal with the when it doesn't work out and
Yes.
make something work, find a solution there. So
Yes. Which you did do. You applied that
yeah.
that skill you developed as a teenager of sort of diving in and sticking with
Hmm.
something,
Hmm.
and it got you realized you couldn't do it, and so you backed off. It's like you pivoted really well, and now you're putting the building blocks in place to invite it back in a more strong and structured way.
Yeah, and I think like I've already read through the Rock Your Biz materials, and I've started in on some of it, and it's having that. I had no idea how I was going to market these coaches who worked for me or market myself and differentiate that. So it's like, well, let's get crystal clear on what I do and who I am and why and who should work with me. And then that, I think that will, the solutions for who should I then hire to work with me, or how would we go about structuring that, will be clearer and will present themselves.
Yes. 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 Do you feel like you're getting the answers that you needed inside the Rock Your Biz curriculum about how to put all that in place? It's okay to say no, by the way, if you're not getting the answers that you need.
Well, I no, I think I am. I'll tell you where I'm at right now. In the first module, I'm about to write my or I wrote a shitty rough draft of my outreach letter,
Mhm.
and so I'm nearing the end of module one. So I wrote that, and thinking about my story, something you said in the end of I think one of the learning lab, maybe it was. Oh, maybe it was one of the first videos in the Rock Your Biz about, you know, telling people who you are, and
Mhm.
that's part of it. And students, and this is what I've always believed, but students need someone to listen and just be there for them. Like, parents will say, like, you must be so smart to do all these subjects, and it's like, well, part of that is repetition. Like, and I've joked in the past, like, when we had textbooks, I was like, I can read a little faster, I know where to look, like, for
Yeah,
the answers.
exactly.
But mostly it's just like I'm having a relationship and trying to
Mm.
be the teacher that or professor in college that inspired me to work a little harder, or to be more creative or dig a little deeper. Um,
Yeah.
and so now I'm going to be percolating on, like, oh yeah, how can I bring other parts of myself to the marketing of this and the explanation of this, and then the special sauce, if you will, and and that'll differentiate a little bit from the other services that are around Los Angeles
Yeah.
and on the internet.
And then it'll get a little complicated again because once you figured that out for yourself and you have others working
Right.
alongside you, do you try and find other people who have that aspect of what you have? Or do you anyway, that'll be another interesting
Yeah.
layer, but first you just get to master this layer.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So, I'll talk to you again in 5 or 6 months after
Yeah.
you're done with the Rock Your Biz accountability cohort, and so just to for people who don't know, we have an add-on to the lab that is the general Rock Your Biz program, and Patrick's been in that for a while, and he has access to the course and calls and all of that. But he's about to start the accountability cohort, which is a very structured 4.5 to 5 month process to work through everything, to get support, to have access to me. And so he's just starting that. So, Patrick, where do you hope you are on the other side when I come bring you back in to talk to you again?
I hope that, well, I guess I hope that I will do it all. Like I said, I'm a student who follows directions.
Mhm,
Like,
mhm.
so there is a part of the program that is bringing up resistance, or bringing up like a little bit of, I don't what the word is, like apprehension, or just like, oh really, am I gonna
Yeah.
have, like, how, like, the being seen, the putting myself doing this work and making it seen is going to be present some stress. But I think I'm just overthinking it, and I just should just sort of jump in, and so in 6 months, I think I'll have a very clear, all this language that I've been looking for this whole time. This is what I do. This is the type of
Mhm.
students who I work well with. These are the results I know I can show you, and these are the tools I can show you. And um, and then I don't have to feel any little guilt about if people work with me or without me, because I know, like, that I believe in this system. Um,
Mm.
and so then I think by in 6 months there will be a lot more of me showing off that work. And that's the challenge I have to myself, to be putting myself out there in different ways, um, and looking for because I already have students, and I'm pretty confident that I will continue to have students. I want to
Yeah.
push myself in those other areas of the marketing and where other areas to expand.
Mhm. It's so interesting because as you were talking, I was like, gosh, you're an actor. Why are
I
you
know.
shy about putting yourself out there? But then my next thought was, and tell me if you agree with this, like, well, when you're an actor, you get to play a character. You don't have to actually be your full self. You're skilled at taking on somebody else's. And of course you use parts of yourself, but it's behind a mask in some way that
Yeah.
maybe it's not now.
Yeah, I think that's, there's part of there when you say you're an actor, and it's interesting, it's like what people bring their assumptions to, I
Mhm.
guess, too, because when I say like I'm a tutor, or people are like, "Oh, you're my tutor," or whatever, and I was like, "I'm an academic
Yeah.
coach," or "I'm this," or these are
Yeah.
all of the things I have. Um, and for a long time I've worked as a coach with families who are in the entertainment business, and I've kept like church and state about my personal life and my coaching. And um it's harder to do that now than ever, so it's sort of like, well, did that serve me all these years? Not necessarily, so might as well try to bring the part of me that's willing to look ridiculous and fail on stage or
Yeah.
be vulnerable on camera to
Um,
my
to your
coaching.
business.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh, well, I'm so glad I asked you that because that's beautiful. I'm glad.
Yeah, I think we're just
You're
trying to merge it all together. So,
we're trying to be whole people like we offer to students. You get to be a whole person at school. You don't have to mask and hide parts of yourself away. You don't have to be perfect. You can be sloppy and messy and have all of your passions, but also work hard to do things you don't love to do, and you get to be all of it. But we have to work on that regulation piece about our difficulty with discomfort.
yeah. Yeah. And it's usually things, it's ripping the band-aid off. Like the anxiety around the act is
Mhm.
usually worse than the act itself,
Yes. Yes. Well, we'll see. And I'll
in
be
my
here with
experience.
you, and there will be a
Yeah.
cohort of people to be with you.
Yes,
Hopefully,
I am
though I will
I'm looking
say,
forward to chatting with more people because I'm like, oh, I have
yes,
questions already. Yeah.
yes. Well, a side note, that's just another reason why I wanted to make this video is because we're looking for more people to be in the cohort with you. And look how awesome Patrick is. And we usually have about 5 people in the cohort to keep it small so my eyes can stay on everybody and everybody can stay with each other and really support each other. So out there, who wants to be one of Patrick's amazing cohort members? I bet there are a few of you who do. So come on over to the antiboringlearninglab.com. Check us out. Um, Lastly, I was having so much fun chatting with you. I forgot about my little card thing, but we do
Three.
have one more round.
Okay.
So, this one is about you as a member of what I like to call the lab fam. So, since you've been in the Anti Boring Learning Lab, would you like, actually, I'm going to give you more than just 3 choices. You get to choose 1 to 6. What number do you want?
5.
Oh, okay. So, what did you believe about coaching before you joined the lab that you've since had to unlearn?
I believe about coaching before I joined the land, but since I've gone.
Hmm.
That's a really good question. I guess I thought I was the only one going through this. Like the struggles in my
Mm,
business, um the ups and downs and emotions that go with each student and their families, and the trials and tribulations, and the feeling of like doing more and doing enough. And so joining the lab, I saw so many clinicians from our book clubs to our Zoom calls, and just realizing how other coaches are doing this and how much they care, and that we are all trying to find ways to kind of manage ourselves in our practice, because we are very empathic people, and compassionate, and but also have, we have lives too. So it's like everyone's struggling in with that to some degree, like trying to find the best way to be the best coach you can be, and also be a whole human, um and not let it, so that was really encouraging to be like, oh wow, this alone was worth it, to know, okay, um there's there's other people who are thinking about their job all the time too. Their students all the time too.
There really are. You
Yeah.
are not alone. You had to unlearn the fantasy that you were all alone in this.
Yeah, I think, like, because it's virtual and it's one-on-one, and then it's texting with parents and stuff, and there's a whole range of personalities. There's like, you can kind of, I've made myself into a martyr at times, and
For sure. Yep.
it's not healthy and not helpful to my, and I don't love like venting to my wife about, a family or whatever. And so I was like, oh, there's this group of people I can process with.
Come vent.
And
Come
then,
vent with us.
yeah, yeah. And there will be feedback. There will be tools.
Yeah.
There will be thoughts and ideas, and how much more productive that is than
Hmm.
just sitting in it or giving it to
Hmm.
a friend or a family member who has can't really understand all of the nuance about it, because they weren't
Yes,
there, and they,
they
yeah.
weren't there. Right. Right. Well, I'm so glad you're a member. I suspect you're going to be a lab member longer than just the Rock Your Biz program. You
I
seem
think
like you're
so,
with us
yeah.
for a little bit.
Yeah.
No pressure, but it seems like you're really part of the lab fam already, I think.
Good.
And for those who are listening who are already members of the Anti-Boring Learning Lab, Patrick and I also started a discussion about how we might teach a little improv,
Yes.
co-teach an improv games and structures to support. Well, what would you say? Like, I have my own thoughts, but what would your hope be? They would be um, improvisational practices that fill in the blank.
um, that celebrate the imperfectness of coaching and remind us to play.
Mhm. Yes. Yes. And doing that with coaches first. One of the things I find is coaches always want to find the thing they're going to do with their student. And yes, improvising, like improv games and structures, are certainly wonderful to do with our clients as well. And I'm actually pulling out a bunch of research around that, how it actually helps students with specific executive functions. So that's going to be coming on my blog sometime soon. But we start with ourselves first, and we need to play first. So I'm excited to play with you with others.
Yes.
All right. We'll talk to you in 6 months. We'll see how far you got. We'll see what you're celebrating. We'll see what you're not celebrating. I'm sure there will be a combination of both. And I'm just so grateful for you starting your process of showing up as yourself here with our podcast.
Thank you, Gretchen.
Yeah. Oh, wait, but tell people where to find you. What's your website? What's your, if they want
My
to know more?
website, which will probably be overhauled this in the next 6 months as well.
So do you not want to share
So,
it yet? Do you want to wait
no,
to
no, I
share
could
it?
share it. Sure, why not? It's
Okay.
quinlantutoring.com. That's what it is right now. Yeah.
Great. QUI.
Quunlan. Yeah.
There you go.
Patrick Quinlan.
There you go. And I am antiboringlearninglab.com. And if you want to have a free dip into some resources that Patrick has just finished working through in his certification process, you can go to that antiboringlearninglab.com/resources and sign up for our free library where you can learn about the study cycle and the cognitive overload mini lecture and all kinds of things. So head on over there. And oh my gosh, have a great vacation with your
Thank you.
18-month-old Patrick.
Thank you. Have an excellent summer.